Fit for Life Radio, episode number 99. I am Gary.
And I'm Will.
And we are your hosts. Hostesses.
Hostesses?
We'll
Hosts.
walk you to your table.
Yeah.
And seat you. And then your server will come.
Yeah. Your server, Diego.
Yeah. You would think that would lead in nicely if we were doing like a nutrition podcast.
No, we're
today,
not.
But it's not the case.
Whatever.
There is no natural lead in. Today we are talking about a little more abstract.
Yeah.
No research review or nothing super concrete, but just a general theme of success outside the gym versus inside it. And with that is, so really it's the athlete versus everyday Joe kind of argument, and we'll start it by saying this isn't right or wrong.
It's just all context dependent.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people have to, we're not saying that one goal is better than the other or not to pursue one or the other. We're just saying that the one we're going to talk about is extremely underrepresented and
underrepresented.
Underrepresented. Right when I said it, I was like,
this is wrong.
That's not right. Reaches for caffeine. Yeah, so, and it's kind of not cool, I guess. So people don't approach it as a goal. But the reality is, it's most people's goal.
It's where most people should be.
Which is they want their things to be better outside the gym. And what we mean by that is a lot of people, they're driven, I want to improve this lift over anything else, right? Or if they have a sport that's like Olympic lifting or CrossFit or powerlifting, these are all gym sports.
Yeah.
So if that is your main goal, you go to the gym to get better
at the gym,
inside the gym at those things.
Yeah.
The thing is, like with any sport, just like football or baseball, right? Yeah, you may want to be a better baseball player or a better football player. And with that means you might get a concussion from smacking into someone 60 times for 3 hours, right? You may get hit in the head by a baseball or, sprain your knee or ankle while sliding into a base. These are trade-offs, right?
Yeah. There's always going to be a risk when
and
you're
that's
pushing
fine.
physically.
You're cool with that. And then you may have to limp through. You may be on crutches for a year because you tore your ACL for the pursuit of being better and performing well at that sport. Well, the same thing goes for the gym sports. You could end up, in crutches or in a pain or
tearing your pec.
Just maybe general, like your lower back always hurts and you have to pass on playing with your kids or doing something outside the gym. So it's perfectly okay to want to go to the gym and you just want to improve your general fitness, your ability to move, maybe help aid a fat loss goal, body recomposition change, so that, outside the gym you have better health markers, you don't breathe as heavily doing things, and that's perfectly fine. And it's understanding that maybe to improve your life outside the gym, you trade off
how you train
and being the best at maybe a certain exercise or training sport or something like that. And that it's okay. It's a worthy goal. And it doesn't have to be the other way.
Yeah. I think people get really caught up in wanting to be the best in the gym and always push it and, do everything they can to like improve their bench press or whatever it is. That's a super common one. And at the expense of a lot of other stuff, and there's always better options too. We at the gym know that, we program to keep people healthy or like get stronger, but like there's trade-offs.
Yeah.
Like we don't do any Olympic lifting because, well, like that shit's risky for average people to do, and the time sink of it. And then other things like, back squats, like we don't really do any back squatting. Like there's other alternatives. And our trade-off is like, yeah, you might not get good at back squats because we're going to do a goblet squat with a dumbbell because you're going to probably feel better outside of the gym because, you know, if you have any shoulder issues, a back squat will probably exacerbate that. And like realizing that that's fine.
Yeah. Or we'll use a safety bar squat, right, where the handles are in your front so you don't have to worry about that shoulder issue. But yeah, if you want to go and compete in powerlifting, well, you have to do a barbell back squat with your shoulders in that position. So you're not going to be getting better per se at that.
Yeah.
But those are the trade-offs, right? And another one is time. You know? To get good at stuff in the gym, you're typically going to have to spend more time there. And
Absolutely.
What if you don't want to? What if you don't want to spend your weekend inside the gym? You know, and maybe you do, which is completely fine. Maybe you want to spend 4 hours inside the gym working on the technique or something like that.
Which is cool because like that's your hobby and that's your drive and that's perfectly cool.
But that's not everyone, and if that's not you, you don't have to feel guilty. And what happens is people think, well, if I can't commit and be at that level, why should I even do any of this at all?
Yeah.
Which is, you know,
such a wild mindset.
You don't want to do that, right? It's okay to go to the gym 3 days a week for 45 minutes each. What's that?
2 hours and 15 minutes?
Yeah. That's fine.
Because you're going to be better outside because of that anyways, you know? Yep. Like most people's activities are way more than going to the gym, right? People like to hike. People like to run. People like to bike. I didn't know I was going to run.
Work in their garden.
Yeah, like just being able to do so many different things. There's such a variety of activities that people really love, and none of those have to be spending all your time in a gym. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, I think it's almost like people need permission to not kill themselves at the gym, I think.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do that, you know? And a lot of it comes from like learning lessons the hard way too. I think some people like, you know, you have an injury and then you're like, well, shit, like that's not worth it. I don't want that to ever happen again. And maybe I don't care enough about said specific goal, like getting your bench press to a certain weight to even pursue that anymore, you know? And that's unfortunately a lot of us do learn the hard way. And I know as coaches, we do our best to like, you know, help prevent other people from learning the hard way. But the reality is that's just the way some people have to do it. Unfortunately, you know, you have to go through it versus being told, hey, maybe that's not the best idea.
Yeah. But luckily, too, when we see it, you provide an environment where, hey, here's the baseline of training. This will help you improve outside the gym. There's a lot of people who almost are like relieved. Like,
oh my God.
I can just go 3 days a week and not be guilt tripped into I need to do more, or I just develop a level of relative strength and not have to be pushed to be like, no, you need to keep going into extreme levels. And people are almost relieved. And you know what the cool thing is? Those people end up training consistently week in and week out, year in and year out, and end up
in a great place,
in a better place than people who are like, I'm going to do this elite thing, and they go hard for 3 months and then burn out and don't do it, and
they don't do it for 2 years.
Yeah, then they're like, I'm going to get back into this. So, and I've learned the hard way from, you know, coming from like the big three background of like I have to
same thing.
Squat and bench press, and I would always get hurt. I would always, or even when I was squatting or bench pressing more, I would research, well, what's the world record for, you know, my weight class, and then I'm going to, you know, try to work towards that.
And it's just not reasonable.
And would always hurt. And then do nothing outside the gym.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, this will impact my recovery for this weird goal. And I didn't even compete. I didn't even get, no one's paying me.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to win money. I wasn't, you know.
It's a hard thing to balance for people.
Yeah.
You know.
And then when you realize you can just go to the gym.
And just do it.
Leave.
And then
you don't have to tie anything.
And then you're gone.
To it, per se.
Yeah.
You can just focus on getting a little better. Maybe it's doing a movement better. Maybe it is getting a couple extra reps, going up 5 pounds after a month or two. But yeah, you don't have to tie your self-worth.
I think I was going to say that. I think it's a really big thing is people tie themselves to their lifts. Like, unless I can squat X amount of pounds, like, I'm not worthy, essentially. And, people may not say that out loud, but I'm sure that's how a lot of people feel, is that, if my total isn't this in, say, weightlifting or powerlifting, then, I'm just not there. I'll be happy when I get there, which is a whole other thing. And we maybe even did a podcast on that of, like, you're never going to be happy with a destination anyways. And I think that pursuit, you fall into that trap a lot. When my squat gets to 500 pounds, I'm going to be happy. Nah, you're just going to feel as shitty as you did when it was at 300. So that's a really hard thing to work through. And I think part of it is enjoying the day-to-day, like enjoying the process. Like, that's something that I think you and I both really enjoy the process, and, can go to the gym, not PR, and technically, like, I'm fine, it'll happen in time, or I'll get better in some way. But the act of doing it is where the enjoyment comes from.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I think that has to be a change in people's minds, is that, and not tying, like, oh, that was a really good workout because I PR'd. And if you don't PR, it was a bad workout.
Yeah.
So then and it's just like with food, like good and bad food, like that doesn't help anybody. There's context, there's nuance. Really, it's just a workout.
Yeah.
And you can change based on that, but saying you had a good or a bad, will really impact how you think about things.
Yeah. And you have to, and there's immense benefit to just maintaining a certain level of physicality. So if you can, dumbbell bench press 60s and goblet squat 60s, and you and get into, the range of motion and not have pain and move through these things, and then you never make any more progress, but you maintain a certain ability, like, there's lots of health benefits.
You're going to be in such a good place.
If you do this thing at 35 and you can still do it at 65,
dude, you're killing the game.
Yeah. Like that there, and you have to remind yourself of that, unlike some things, there is a lot of benefit to just maintaining an average level of ability.
If you know me, I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
Yeah. And it's really hard for people to wrap their head around that or to be excited about that. But again, like we compared a lot to like brushing your teeth, right? Well, you just know if I just brush my teeth twice a day and floss once a day, I'll maintain good mouth health, right?
And nobody freaks out about like, I gotta brush harder, I gotta brush better, I gotta brush 4 times a day,
faster.
You never think about that. It's just the practice of doing it keeps you in check, and that's fine, and it's good. So, and there of course is more nuance. So don't I'm sure there's people out there that are going to bring up exceptions, but with regards to working out, like most of us do it to feel better, be more able, and to look better. That's it. I would say the majority of people don't care what a certain number is on a lift. Yeah. Or at the end of the day, they don't. They might in the moment.
I mean, if you look at our gym, Coastal Strength and Fitness, I would say less than 20%, care. Like people they want to progress, especially in the beginning. But most people kind of will, be happy just getting a little stronger, doing more than they could, and ultimately like get to a place to where they feel and move better, right? But not be like, I have to get this absolute strength, which is like getting to a number that's as high as possible, and that's the driving force.
Yeah. And we know that with that comes injury, not that it's going to happen, but like the risk is higher when you're really pushing it.
Yeah.
Because then you're more likely to kind of, loosen up your form a little bit or give yourself a pass on, doing a rep that like, maybe I shouldn't have done that technically.
Or you may need more like, and so then you get to psych yourself up, and then you get more adrenaline pumping, and that kind of will cover some things up. But as with any sport, and that's the thing, we have the luxury of doing these things, because we can get hurt and know we can go have surgery or recover or kind of get enough food and and do. But hundreds of years ago, you could be done, right? You're the weak link. You can't walk anymore. There is no recovery.
Yeah, like you tear your ACL.
So you would be more cautious. No one would just ignore internal cues of like, hey, stop. And push past, right? And that's where competition, helps us do those things. But again, that's a luxury. To be able to do that. So none of us are having to do it for like our life.
Yeah, for our survival. Like it's not squatting 800 pounds is not essential for survival.
Yeah.
And
now I get it. That's where if it is your sport and you're a professional and you're getting paid, now it kind of is, right?
Well,
it's how you put food on the table. It's probably reward can outweigh the risk.
And it usually does for those people that are really at the high level.
So start there and kind of be honest with your situation. And then if deep down your and again, it could be on a scale. There could be part of you that does have that itch, right? But you have to, maybe it's still less, like do your number one priority, number one goals lie outside the gym or inside the gym?
Yeah.
And I would start there, and if, your number one priority is hitting 1,000 pounds on your squat, deadlift, bench press, then pursue that, but understand the trade-offs. And if that's not your goal, you don't feel that way, then that's cool. You don't have to feel bad or guilty about it. And you can go to the gym 2 days a week and be successful.
Yeah, and get strong and be able, and then you can do anything outside of the gym that you want to.
Yep.
And I think that's our larger goal for people, that come to our gym is like just being able to do whatever they want in life, no matter what that is. And no matter what age you are, if you wanted to go stand up paddleboard, like I want people to be able to do that and be confident doing it. And part of that comes with, getting better inside the gym.
Yep. And maybe it will help you to identify more specific things outside the gym. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then you can still have, this thing instead of just being super general,
Yeah.
Say, I want to stand up paddleboard, or I want to play with my grandkids and not feel aches and pains.
Yeah.
So
that's such a common one, man.
Be specific, but make it outside the gym stuff, and then that will be a little more motivating.
Yeah, and a lot of times that is a good, motivator for a good, external motivator, well, maybe internal, of like, hey, I want to be able to get up off of the ground with my kids or grandkids, which seems so simple, but when you think about how that affects your day to day of not being able to interact with, these little people that you love, that's a very strong motivator for people. Yep. And it sticks with you, and that can be the main thing that keeps you going to the gym.
Yeah. And the thing that a lot of, especially, people that are listening or that get mad at topics like this because they feel triggered because they're like super motivated by the sport or whatever, typically those people are always in their 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
And I've been there.
Same.
But I was also lucky enough to be a trainer, at a gym with people that were older. And then now we see, we meet with 5 to 10 people a week, new people, real people.
Yep.
And they're typically in their 40s and 50s. And they have so much injuries and pain. And they weren't even gym people. It just came from life or doing things. But most of them were doing, like, we meet a lot of people who trained really hard when they were younger, and now they struggle to be able to do anything because of those injuries.
Yeah.
And when you see that enough, and you see people who have had like 3 knee surgeries and 2 shoulder surgeries, and now they can't raise their arm and they have to walk with a limp, which then causes their hip to hurt.
It's crazy.
And they're like just trying to find something they can do. Yeah, it makes you realize that a lot of it's not worth it. If you would ask those people if they would do it over again, they would tell you no, or they would have been more mindful.
Mm-hmm. And how many people are like, I wish I knew now what I knew then about training, or I wish I found you guys sooner, when I used to train like this, more intense or more targeted or whatever. And there's rarely someone that's like, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. Normally, if you got paid a lot of money and had a lot of glory, and
then you're glad you did it.
You're glad you did it.
If you're like an accountant and just you did these really hard workouts or training style when you were in your 20s, and now you can't
and your friends
raise your arms over your head.
Yeah, and the people that love you, they don't care.
Nah, nobody gives a crap about how much you can squat. Period. Yeah. No one's like, bro, he's not cool. He only squats 250. Like, we're not gonna hang out with him. No, first of all, if anybody does that, they're not worth your time anyways. But I would guarantee you that basically nobody cares what you can do. Generally, people are like, no, you go to the gym, whatever. But so tying your self-worth to that when nobody cares is just kind of silly.
Now, if you care, and it is a priority.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it being a priority.
By all means, go for it. But then, make sure it's something you're doing for you. But again, at the same time, the point of the podcast is that is pushed so much that people think if they don't feel that way, what's the point of doing anything?
Yeah.
And the point of doing anything is, there's a base level that actually can help make you better outside the gym, whereas, believe it or not, trying to be better inside the gym to a certain level can have negative impacts outside the gym.
Yeah. So it's a balance.
That's all we're saying.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to like being kind of in the middle, moderation, right?
Or like where you at in your life, right?
We had such a big one.
Joe on in one of the podcasts. Maybe pull it up and
Joe Roth.
See.
Yeah,
Joe Roth, who's a client of ours, and he talks about how he was a runner earlier in his life, and then eventually work, kids, it got pushed aside. He couldn't manage it all. And then as his kids grew older and his work and career were more established and he had found himself with more time, he was able to ramp things up and eventually got into endurance running and racing and competing and things like that. And he has a lot of experience and trains better, trains differently to where he feels great and is able to compete how he wants, right, at this stage of his life. So that's the other thing. Your goals don't always have to be forever and always. They can change.
I'm over here struggling.
Yeah, man. You ever heard of Spotify?
I'm on Spotify. I'll fight you. I guess I could have searched, right?
I mean,
you're going to find it before me.
For some reason, my search function's not.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's frozen.
Oh, 76. Episode 76. Yeah. For anybody, it's a really good episode. And Joe has his stuff together, and is very mindful about the way he does things and really work towards it. But, running's a huge priority for him. So, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it, especially, if you are somebody who likes to run. It's an interesting one.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right.
Joseph. So
I think that's good for the tidbit we went to get across.
Yeah. A little more of a rant today, kind of, but, sometimes people got to hear it.
Something we see. I think that's the other thing that's starting to get lost is not to, I guess, a little bit to brag on what we do, but it's really, we're more fortunate in that we do have a gym setting in person where you're with people in real life, and it's that group style of gym where you build relationships, connect with people, and you get to know and see these things, right? Where so much now is just people on social media, they have their own individual experience and then they just kind of blast things out. to everyone like, hey, this is how it should be.
This is the only way.
But the reality is, man, we see people, what they're struggling with, what they want, what they don't want. And yeah, it's funny because when you get onto the internet, social media world, the minority of things feels like the majority.
It does.
But then you get into like working with people in real life,
and you
the
realize
majority of people, and you realize that the majority is the minority online.
Yeah.
In the internet world.
And I think the minority is always going to be more vocal, right? It's like people are way less likely to leave like a review on something, if they had a good experience. But if they had a bad experience, you better believe they're leaving a bad review, So it's same thing. Like if, something, negative, or someone feels very strongly about something, which we know the extremes we'll use diet-wise, like, the keto or carnivore community in the vegan community. Like they're very vocal online. And you would think that 80% of the United States follows those diets based on how we see it. But we know the truth is they're still the minority, even though they are very, very vocal about it.
Yeah.
So
then when people are perusing the internet, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the way.
Yeah.
This is what everyone's doing. And the reality is it's just not, those extremes are not sustainable for most people, and not many people are doing them at all.
Yeah, exactly. They just seem to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And then like most people just doing like normal, moderate things probably don't feel the need to bring it up or blast it on social media like it is the way.
And with exercise, what's going to be more appealing when someone stumbles on it? Like they see someone doing this amazing feat of strength, or they just see someone doing a few push-ups with good form.
Yeah.
But not to an extreme amount.
One is not as exciting as the other to see.
Get attracted to these extremes, and they're like, well, this is what I have to pursue if I'm going to, and that's what they relate as like exercise and health. When the reality is, what it really is for most people is boring.
Yeah, it's brushing your teeth.
Not exciting. Yeah. So
which
then,
is fine.
Knowing you're not seeing that, so then when that starts to happen, you start to feel that way, you think something's wrong. Mm-hmm. And this is not the case.
Yeah. Something to realize, and it took me time to realize this, is that like working out does not need to be exciting. And not saying you don't look forward to it, because I look forward to it every single day, but it's not like, I'm going to see a movie for the first time and I'm really pumped about it. Like I'm going to the gym and I love that it's good for me and it benefits me and I feel great doing it, but there's not this huge excitement to it, and that's fine. So if you find yourself in that spot where you're like, oh, I'm not pumped to go to the gym. Okay. Are you pumped to brush your freaking teeth in the morning? Nobody is, but you do it because it's great for you and you're grateful that you do it so your teeth don't fall out of your head.
And, every now and then you get a little new flavor of toothpaste. Mm-hmm. You might be excited for that one day
you're
or
like,
two.
Oh, yeah, this is
But then eventually it's just brushing your teeth.
And then it's just...
And that's what happens with people when they think, oh, well, I'm bored, so I'm just going to change my workout routine or program, right? Or I've been doing Orange Theory, but now I'm going to go do Club Pilates. But the reality is you're just going in this circle and delaying of like, you need to eventually just be okay.
Because you've got to be okay being bored with it.
Yeah. You'll change the flavor and it'll be fun for a short amount of time, but it's still...
You can't keep changing the flavor.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
It's better just finding something that you'll stick with.
Yeah.
Boom.
One thing I did, this is a slight tangent on that, but something that resonated with me from listening to the Huberman Lab is that like to get enjoyment out of, things you really like, and this is paraphrasing and summarizing, but like you have to kind of be okay with being bored sometimes with anything. Like the world doesn't need to be exciting 24/7, and if it is, anything less than that is going to feel terrible. So like just be okay, quote unquote, being bored with your training, and that's fine. And then, when things truly are exciting or you have a great workout, like that's fine and it'll feel great. But you have to be okay with your baseline being normal.
Yeah, but everyone's chasing like dopamine. And
everyone's chasing,
every second of every day.
Exactly. And don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully some of you find that helpful.
I hope.
We'll be back next week with 100. Episode 100.
It's going to be a special one.
All right.
See ya. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.